One of the surprising voices of reason in Israel is Ephraim Halevi, the ex-chief of Mossad, who said days after September 11th attack, quote, "We don't have the luxury to wait. We have to have a viable policy which would deal with the presence in this area of the Jews and the Palestinians. We are doomed to live together. I don't want to say we are doomed to die together. And if our approach is that we are doomed to live together, we can't simply live together with one part of the equation having the upper hand and ignoring the aspirations of the other. There has to be the beginning of a meeting of minds." Then, Ami Ayalon, a former leader of Shin Bet, made this point even more succinctly. Quote, "We Israelis will have security only when they, Palestinians, will have hope. This is the equation." End of quote. Words for which you may lose your job in the Free West. What times do we live in when secret police tells truth public media don't dare to utter? Israel as a whole is paying a heavy price for ignoring this lesson. It competes with Trump on who will most brutally display raw and arbitrary power without any ethical concerns. And again, I made consciously this weird point. Secret police, or whatever you call it, is for me a very mixed entity. They can be bad, but in authoritarian country, they usually play, I'm not laughing, I'm not mocking, a good role. Why? Because they tell the truth, at least confidentially. I read now some wonderful analysis where say the only true opposition, apart from a couple of intellectuals, blah, blah, now to Netanyahu government are members of secret police. Did you read in your media that 550 of them signed a declaration against attacking Gaza for peace with Arabs and so on and so on? We really live in a crazy times. Or I will quote now this unimportant small guy, Udi Aloni, quote, "We are witnessing a symbolic shift in the ethical superego between Israel and Hamas. Hamas insists on portraying itself as humanitarian. They present hostages in good condition, deny atrocities, and avoid publicly glorifying acts of cruelty. Their superego, the image they construct for themselves and the world, is one of universal humanism, intuitively understanding that Palestine is becoming a global signifier of universality. Israel, by contrast, has undergone a radical transformation. It has removed its ideological mask and presents pure power for its own sake. Public figures, soldiers, and political leaders openly take pride in brutality, celebrating the suffering of detainees, justifying the murder of women and children, and normalizing genocidal rhetoric. Israel has killed its superego. This is a reversal in the Israeli self-image that is almost impossible for Israelis to grasp, yet obvious to any outside observer. The only point of slight theoretical disagreement I have here with Udi is that I think if we use the term superego in the way it was elaborated by Lacan, not as a proper ethical agency, but as the ultimate obscene agency, which allows you, under the cloak of some morality, to do horrible things, then we may say with some irony that Israeli politics today and the Trumpian populism in general, although they are not the same in their inner structure, precisely reassert superego. Superego. the pseudo-ethical agency bombarding individuals with the injunction to enjoy is externalized in the public space dominated by digital media. The most disturbing fact is that Israel and the US don't just ignore humanitarian concerns, they evoke them to justify their ethnic cleansing. You remember from Eli Academy that rabbi who said, and then when they were attacked, they repeated this. But what did we say wrong when we said Arabs should be enslaved? This is our way of helping them, of allowing them to get some stability. Gilles Deleuze wrote decades ago, si vous étiez pris dans le rêve de l'autre, vous étiez foutu. If you are caught into another's dream, you are fucked. This is now happening to Palestinians, ensnared in Trump's dream of a new, happy, peaceful existence when they will be resettled into far safer and more beautiful communities fitted with new and modern homes. According to Trump, such a forced evacuation would give Palestinians a chance to be happy, safe, and free. But we know from Stalinism what enforced happiness means. It is certainly not what Palestinians desire. So back to Halevi. What happens if one of or both sides exclude such a meeting of minds? What happens is what is happening now. The stronger side engages in ethnic cleansing, even genocide of its opponent. In such a situation, do we, external observers, have any right to condemn Palestinians for fighting back? In the same way as Israel is attacking them, with arms, with terror, but are we, Western Europeans in this case, really just external observers? I think the predominant stance of our governments is even worse than that of Israel. The main European countries again and again declare how they worry about the suffering in Gaza and on the West Bank. But this doesn't prevent them to continue to supply Israel with arms and to prevent any serious diplomatic actions against it. Why? Because, as your Chancellor Merz said recently, Israel is doing the dirty work for us. I recently spoke with a couple of high European functionaries from different countries and parties, and in deep privacy, of course. I got the same message. Of course, it is horrible what Israel is doing. It can even be called genocide. But we should realistically accept the sad fact that ethnic cleansing works. With clearly delimited borders and ethnic homogeneity, a great Israel may bring peace to the area, so let's let it happen and then accept it as a fact. So what should the Israeli Jews do? Some of my Palestinian colleagues, like Zahi Zalwa, think that since the Jews are the colonizers there, the only solution is that they should commit a symbolic suicide. They should radically transform their symbolic identity. The problem I see with this idea is that by what they are doing now, caught in the genocidal mania, they already are becoming worse fundamentalists than the Muslim Arabs. They, the Zionist Jews, are already doing this, committing a symbolic suicide, abandoning the most precious parts of their symbolic legacy. Or, as Yuval Noah Harari, with whom I definitely don't always agree, put it. It's a nice quote. Judaism has survived. It has become the world champion in surviving catastrophes. But it has never faced a catastrophe like we are dealing with right now, which is a spiritual catastrophe for Judaism itself. The worst-case scenario that we are facing right now, we can still prevent it, is the potential of an ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza and the West Bank, resulting in the expulsion of 2 million, maybe more Palestinians. From there, the establishment of Greater Israel, the disintegration of Israeli democracy, and the creation of a new Israel based on an ideology of Jewish supremacy. The worship of what were completely anti-Jewish laws for the last 2 millennia. End of quote. One should only supplement these lines with the said conclusion. The spiritual catastrophe of which Harari speaks is not a sudden event which disturbed authentic Jewishness. Its potential was there from the very beginning. But, and this is my conclusion, does this mean that there is something especially destructive in Jewish identity itself? No. We are all part of this story. Racism was potentially inscribed into the Enlightenment project. Jews were for thousands of years victims of anti-Semitism. Arabs that surround Israel focus on it in order to avoid openly confronting their own antagonisms. In all justified criticism of what Israel is doing now, it is absolutely essential to include ourselves into the story. Racism begins the moment we pretend to adopt the role of an innocent observer. Thank you very much.